Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Fix My Fees podcast, where merchant processing is so boring. I bring in interesting people to make it more fun. And today we have Andy Southwood with us. How you doing today, Andy?
Yeah, I'm good. Good, thanks. Yeah, cheers for inviting me on.
So I went in a little bit of a different direction when I came across your profile. And I was like, you know what? That is interesting. You are the COO of a dentistry business, but you have been actually doing operations and managing for over 15 years from what I've seen. And so it's nice to have somebody who's had that kind of diversity and then like now established this side of a business. But how long have you actually been at this business, being the COO of this particular business?
Yeah, so I joined Tooth Club in August of 2024. So yeah, it'll be 2 years in 4 months' time.
2 years and 4 months time. And how does it like, because managing and operating are a little bit different, right? When you do start to operate, how did you start to get into the managerial and then decide like, I want to operate the business? Because operators usually have their hand in every single piece of it. And so it's a little complex. So
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess that's what I've done my whole career, right? So in the UK, you tend to stay in education up to 18, and I had a weekend job working with the public, and I just knew I liked being around people all day, right, chatting and customer service and all that. So I enjoyed that side of it. So that's what I went off and did, and then since then I've worked for a number of companies, and that's sort of led me up to where I am now. So sort of different stages, different roles, different industries as well, really. So not many repeat industries from that point, which has led me to sort of working where I do now.
and what is your day-to-day like inside of the business? What are you usually handling?
I mean, we're still, we're a fast growth business, right? So the business has only been open for 5 years. We're opening another site in a few weeks' time. So it's kind of non-stop. I mean, it's a chaos, but it's kind of a good chaos. But it's not like where I've worked for big corporate businesses where they've got everything set up and everything's in place and there's a policy and a team and a department to do it. Kind of, most days it's sort of me and the small amount of team that work around me. But I mean, my direct day, we've got 18 practices. So the practice managers, they report into operations managers that report into me. We've got a call center and recruitment team out in Johannesburg in South Africa, and then we've got
Nice.
all of our admin, all of our day-to-day finance, all of our marketing, all of our kind of operational support. They're out in Mumbai, in India. So we've got kind of three areas of operation at the moment.
How do you manage that? Because I know there's a lot of people who are starting to build that like a team, and there are some in the States, some virtual assistants. Do you have like weekly meetings, daily meetings? How do you keep up with every piece, knowing that there's 18 businesses and they all have different levers?
Yeah, it's really hard. I joined when we had 10 practices. So we were, I guess I was stepping in where the founder, Canal, who I work for, still runs the business, the CEO. I was taking over a lot of what he was doing every day and giving him the time and capacity to kind of, grow the business further. And now I'm having to step away and let that happen around me. So I've got, 4 operations managers that report to me. So I'm constantly trying to give them enough support that they feel they've got, that I'm there, but not so much support that I'm telling them what to do and they're not learning. And then the same with a patient hub. We've got a guy called Alan who's brilliant. He's been there, just joined just before me. He's great with the team. He's really good with what they've got to do. So his is kind of a check-in, a bit of redirect, kind of inject some new ideas. And then the same with the Mumbai team. It's a relatively new team. We only opened up the office there. It was late last year. We'd had an office in Bangalore, but we moved to Mumbai. We just saw the opportunity for it to be a better place for us to sort of travel to, but also for access to people. So we have a huddle at 9 most days. So we'll huddle in, talk about what's ahead for the day. The Teams is usually ringing, WhatsApp's calling. We've got a WhatsApp group for everything. Like there is a WhatsApp group for everything. So, just messages, emails, just bouncing around and just making sure we're connected. And I think, a lot of people who work for us say that they really like that there's so much support when they need it. So they can get me, they can get Canal, they can get their operations manager, they can ring, they can WhatsApp, they can team, they can get us however they want. And it's really important that we keep that connectivity so that we know what's going on.
How do you know when is like the time to grow? Because you're going from 10 to 18, and you're talking about what, 2 years? That's like a quarter, one a quarter, I think, if my math is correct. But you know what I mean? That can feel overwhelming going from 1 to 2, let alone 10 to 18. Do you have like, well, how is your process to decide we can get to the next point to the next?
I mean, that's where I think me and the founder kind of work well together, because he'd open one a week if we could, and I'd slow us down every day, and we bounce off each other. But I think it probably never feels comfortable, right? I think it's a bit like, kind of you move out and you're going to rent a house, or you're going to buy somewhere to live, and it doesn't feel right. And then you're going to get married, or then you're going to have kids, or then it never feels right? It always feels uncomfortable. And I think it's the same with the practices. We say, right, we're going to open another practice. And, I can always tell when one's coming, Canal will get kind of itchy feet. He wants to get out. He sends us all around different places and goes, I've got a feeling, go and visit this town, go to this city, go and stand in the high street there, go look at this unit. And we'll all go off in different directions, and then we'll come back, throw out a couple of offers, and then that's it. The next one's opening. So yeah, that's how it happens. Does it feel comfortable? Never. No, not once.
I was about to say, it looks like you're smiling now. Look at that letter, but during it, you're probably going crazy in the middle of all that.
Yeah, completely.
So as you're expanding, is there pressure? Because I did see that you guys have like a lot of different services and treatments, from like a Invisalign to dental implants to even sedations. Like, is there ever pressure to reduce that or expand those because you're opening up so many? And that does get more complex with each one being able to service everything that you're doing?
Yeah, there's a lot that plays into that. So I mean, not every dentist will want to do every type of treatment. So when you're opening a new practice, you've got a dentist comes in, they might specialize in types of dentistry or prefer it, or they're looking to grow their own career, right? So a lot of dentists will want to do implants. So they're looking for the opportunity to kind of place implants and grow their career. I don't think there's ever an appetite to reduce what we do. I do think there's times we've found it's not as profitable as we thought. We've maybe been really pushing something, and then you realize that the fees have crept up here and the costs have crept up there, and you're making no money. So the margins are quite tight on some of it. And then it's staying relevant, right? So, the kind of trends come and go. So in the UK, composite bonding is a really big thing. It looks great. It gives people the smile they've dreamt of.
Right.
But trends change, and then suddenly all people want really white teeth, or suddenly people might want to do something different, or I think us Brits have got a pretty bad reputation in America for our teeth, but we do care, really. We do try and have nice teeth, so it's important to people, right? But people will always want to look after themselves, and the next generation, because I feel like I'm getting old now, but the next generation seem really into making sure they look great, and they're at the gym, they're looking good, they dress well. And so I think the dentistry will always be a part of it, but what look they go for will likely change.
How is not just saying like dentistry is something that I think people, as time goes on, as social media, pictures, videos becomes more prevalent, video calls, podcasts, right? You know what I mean? There's more FaceTime than there used to be. I think people care more and more about their looks. Heck, I care more and more now. I'm doing whitening strips because I'm on podcast now. We do start to care more and more. But there's also the other side of like businesses feeling hampered by AI. And I don't feel like it impacts y'all as much, but have you started to dive into that or leverage that in your business to escalate it in any way?
We don't. I mean, we obviously use AI in terms of just how we communicate internally and how we get information. But there's some amazing tools I've seen coming into dentistry, of where you could just look at the camera now, and if you're happy with your teeth, AI can show you how you'll look talking with a new smile, right? And it's I mean, from a sales perspective, it's great, because you're there thinking that's the guy I want to be, right? Or that's what I want. Or actually, maybe that's not quite what I wanted. And this has helped me realize that I'd be really self-conscious if my teeth were that white or that bright, or, that shape. So, there's a lot in it. And I think, it's really important to kind of embrace that, but also to not mislead, all the advertising we do, the before and afters, they're people that came in and left with a better smile. And I think it's really important to keep that. But the models we can use and some of the things we can do before, where it was quite difficult to create, suddenly the world's a different place, right?
I didn't think about that, because I know I've seen that with like the glasses where you can like try on glasses virtually, but I never thought about like wow, you could just like give a big smile and it can kind of do the work for you and give you a show. Cause I mean, with technology the way it is, it can kind of like look like it's in your mouth while you're talking. And I believe that works.
Yeah, it's just changed everything, isn't it? I mean, I remember like, you know, buying furniture. Suddenly you can see where it looks in your house, and before, it just wasn't a thing. So it's just so
Yeah.
really see, really bring it to life. So yeah, I think that side of AI is probably a big part. Um, and then there's kind of AI as well in terms of how, what's allowed in terms of dentists keeping their notes. They can just have so much more. Like you said earlier about a virtual PA, the dentists can have really good notes in terms of what they're doing and make sure everything's up to date, and have some of that done for them, which is really good. So yeah, there's a lot of ways the sort of technology can land.
Yeah. And what about like when you open up new practices and you start the marketing process? Do you usually have like a specific process you do with each one every single time, or is it more dynamic to the area? How do you decide what type of marketing is going to go where as you're starting to ramp up with a new place
Yeah.
and a new dentist coming in and running it?
So we'll test the market before we sign the lease. So we'll test the market first and just see if there's demand for our products in an area. So if we see high demand from that area, and we can do that via our kind of marketing links, then we'll know we're doing the right thing and we think we're onto a winner.
Okay.
Once we're there, I mean, we're fairly consistent in terms of what we do, like a range of ads. To draw people in, to get leads. But on the ground, we can be a bit more specific. So on the ground, our teams can get outside, and go out, especially if we're opening. It's harder if you open in the winter here because it's just cold and dark and no one wants to see people or stand outside. But, this sort of time of year, we can open, we can go out, we can chat to people as they go past, we can draw them in, we can do, spin the wheel, and you might get a kind of free whitening kit or whatever. We can really engage with people. So it's a lot of fun. So I think
Nice.
we can mix that up. I would say broadly, we've not had to do anything massively different in one town to another, but, we're ready to kind of adapt if we need to.
I forgot him. I forget how powerful. So you do use a lot of like coupons as you're going out to kind of like gain people's first attention for that first buy.
Yeah, well, we will still use a lot of leaflets. We'll go out and just hand them out and chat to people, get them to sign up. We do like a membership plan to just get to people to realize they can sign up to that, or people to come in and give their details if they're interested for a chat later on or free consultation. Yeah, still a lot of that kind of basic face to face because we're purposely opening in town centres, right? So we're choosing our locations to be where people are going to shop. So if we there's no point being there and then not kind of leaping on that market and chatting to them about.
So when you have a membership at the individual practices.
Yeah, so people can be a plan member. So it just means that they can have, 2 checkups a year. They can have 2 hygienes a year, keep their teeth well. They get 10% off any discount, but it just gives them that instant access to the dentist, which isn't, well, not everyone can get.
Nice. No,
Yes.
it's just, I don't think I've heard of that. And I think that's smart,
Yeah.
right? Because if I already have something that tells me I can do it, I'm more likely to do my cleanings where now it's like, I just got to wait for the missus to be like, when's the last time you got a cleaner? Oh, man. Right. So if I had a membership where maybe I get the email that's like, hey, your 6 month check-in is coming up, I'd be more apt to do it, which means I'm more apt to renew. And now you have that repeat person just because I'm forgetful. So I don't know. I like that. I didn't think about that before. Was that something that, like, is there ways that you can expand on that more? Is there other things that you kind of like do throughout the year to kind of keep them engaged, or when it's time to renew, make sure that they renew?
Yes, it gives us. I mean, it gives them immediate access to us as a dentist, right? So they can come and see us whenever they want. They can get, kind of. They've got toothache. They can come straight in. They can see the dentist. For the patient, it's really good. For us, it gives us. I mean, from a financial perspective, it gives us a fixed amount coming in every month, right? So we know that money's going to come in because people are paying their kind of monthly fee. So we've got that money coming in, but also more importantly, it means we can target market. If people have come in and already had, aligners and had their teeth straightened, then we know they're interested, so we can market them and speak straight to them about special offers, give them unique discounts, or just tell them about what we're up to. Maybe we're opening
Mm.
a new site that's nearer their house, so we can just tell them that they haven't got to travel so far. So there's a lot of ways we can then sort of engage with that market.
That's a lot of little things that's going on to manage, right? And then you have that with teams to deliver it. And then people on the inside. And also, like, how do you deal with hiring? Like, do you do the hiring? Well, I guess you would have to test the market first. Then you go into a hiring process for people in the area. How do you kind
Yeah.
of figure out that? Because I know it's more than just getting the dentist ready.
Yeah, and we've in an ideal world, we'd kind of grow our practice managers from our teams. People might be a dental nurse for us, then they become a kind of start running the practice when the manager's off and take that next step. But just where we're growing, it's not always viable just because not everybody wants to relocate for a job. So we'll go out and we'll get the manager in a couple of weeks before, get them trained on a different site, and support them into their role and make sure someone's with them. With a dentist, I think we've learned that like every business has its unique ways. We're quite specific about how we do things. So it does benefit us when we've got a dentist there that's worked in another one of our sites. So we kind of try and internally incentivize someone to work there for, say, a few months. Just also means that we know that when the patients come through the door, the first people are going to get like really good care. Because when you're hiring a dentist, they might be an expert in some areas. They might not have practiced for a little while. They might not be quite as sharp as they said they were in the interview. So it's like, at least when we've got a really good dentist that we know we can drop straight in there, we've got someone that's going to hit the ground running. So yeah.
Nice. Also, man, with like the more and more I feel like I bring up, the more and more it breaks off into how many little pieces of intricacies there are. And one thing that I had seen is like you recently went on vacation. And I think it's important to talk about these things because, not to brag, but I talk to a lot of COOs in this podcast and business. And one thing is, it is a struggle is there's always something launching. There's always something emerging, new, added on, taking down, finishing. And there's just always something. There's always a reason, I should say. How do you actually manage that work-life balance? Like, tell us a little bit about you going away and what that meant for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason we manage it is we support each other through that, right? So we're kind of, last time I went away, one of my colleagues, she took my inbox and said, look, you'll only come back to the stuff that's important, and clear the load down, delete things out. It's clearly organization, planning ahead, looking at exactly what's going on in that period of time and making sure someone's accountable for it. It's a good chance for the teams to live the trust that you've kind of placed in them, to just step back and say, look, this is what's going to happen. These are the areas that could be a risk. This is how I want you to approach it. But, look, if I've got more than an odd day off, then I'm contactable as much as I need to be. If I've got more than a few days off once it hits a week, then I'm shutting down as much as I can. And I think it's important to do that, to also show the teams they can do it, because like behavior breeds behavior, right? If I'm constantly available, then the teams go, oh, we'd better be available. And suddenly you've got the entire team that are going to burn out because you're just constantly working. So there's an element of, this is what I tell myself. I can't work for the next 2 weeks because I've got to set a good example of not working, right? But it's true. I think it's really important to do that, because I think otherwise, everybody's just working and people need a break. They come back, they come back revitalized. After my last break, I felt great, right? I came back to work, I felt really good. And I've tried this year to give myself that kind of, but when I'm off to do something fun, to get outside, to enjoy the weather, to be active, just not spend all day just sat. So yeah, trying.
How hard is it to actually disconnect? Like when you're, because where did you go? I forgot where you went, but I know you were saying on there, like, man, like to really disconnect. How hard is it when you're actually there to go, let me check my phone real quick?
Do you know, when I went to Florida last year, so I came to your world last year.
Nice.
That was the big holiday I had. And, I checked my phone just at the airport, and our owner had made quite a big decision. The right decision, really, what's turned out to be a really good decision. But I read it at the airport and I thought, oh, it's going to take me a lot of hours to get past this. Like, this is a big thing to kind of get my head around. And look, I think for a weekend, because I'll tend to be contactable or be in touch with the teams most of Saturday. I tend to find I'm sort of switching off Saturday PM, and Sunday mostly a relaxing day, and then start thinking about it again by the end of the evening and making sure I'm ready for the start the next day. For a week off, I think it's probably a day or two either end, right? And I think I read someone said it was a different podcast, but like a lot of times people only get like 4 till the next morning on a Sunday and the weekend, because they take that morning to go out, and it does take a while, right? You start remembering stuff, you write things down, you clear your head. I think that's important, right? I think that's the modern world, that we're just, my first role as an area manager, I had a mobile phone. I didn't have email. Like, email wasn't generally a big business thing. It was there, but it wasn't like a huge thing that everybody relied upon. So, the company I worked for was probably a bit behind the times, but it wasn't there. It was a phone call or not. So when you could switch off quicker because it was just gone. Your day finished and you went, right, the day's done. You know,
Right.
I got my numbers via the mail. So it was like, right, I'll open the post. You know, I'm all right. So, and so you think that was 20, 22 years ago, right? And how far the world, how much the world has changed in the business world in that time.
Right.
The
Right.
impact you can say on switching off and mental health is huge. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you know? I don't know if I switch off. I'm not sure. Start my
I,
work. I might.
I think you do because I forgot how you tend to overlook how valuable it is setting an example for your team, right? If they see you grinding away 60-hour weeks, no breaks off, missing stuff, sometimes they feel like they got to do it or, they're not keeping up or they're going to fall
Yeah.
behind. You're going to find somebody who's going to work that kind of hours. And so
Yeah.
you take that break and they get to rely and you get to rely on them and they are happy that you did because you took a break. It does let them go, you know what? I could take a break too. Let me take a break and kind of come back revitalized.
Yeah. And I think it's a nice stage of my career where like, I did some emails yesterday, but I put them on scheduled send, so they arrive today when everyone's at work. It's a nice stage of my career where I can do that. And I haven't got to show I'm working. There was probably there was probably times where I was sending an email on a Sunday to say, look at me, I'm working really hard. I'm brilliant. I never stop. And I don't need to do that, right? I can send them to arrive today and people probably still go, he did these yesterday, but it's not interrupting them because the problem is it just feeds on, right? I send an email on a Sunday afternoon, someone replies, someone else's brain gets, it just isn't healthy. It just doesn't help anything. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
the story.
Right. You start to realize you're burning out, teams burning out, everything's starting to slow down,
Yeah.
in those ways. But so what's the next level, right? We went from 10 to 18. Is the next level just opening more practices? What's like the 5-10 year goal as you start to expand?
Yeah. No, I think we'd love to open 5 to 10 a year for the next probably 4 or 5 years. I think if we can get to 50 practices, then we've really got to, one, we're a big business, and two, I think we've really shown it works. Because each time we do it, we learn a bit more. We realize that we should have done this, or there's an opportunity to do that, or we've got to invest more at the start. So that, I think it's fairly scalable what we do. We've got a mold that we can copy again and do it again. So yeah, I'd like to see us get to 50. Hopefully I'm the guy to do that. But like anything, right, it's kind of, sometimes not, right? Sometimes it just I might get us to 30 and then my brain's gone, or I haven't got the ideas, or we haven't learned, and we're still making it too hard for ourselves, because we are. I mean, the last few have been hard work. So, we've got to get that right. So there's a journey to go on. There really is. So
Yeah, there is. And I know I've seen people, and I don't know if I've seen this in the dentistry, but I've seen it in other industries where people will buy up and like get to like 30, 40, 50 in an effort to sell. And so people start to fall behind in their preparation of getting things together. So what advice would you be on parting advices, like as you're starting to build and grow, to make sure that you're keeping things cohesive, like at a step at a time, from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12? What would you say to people to just make sure that they're doing things in a methodical way?
I think I'm not really a checklist guy, but it's just so important to have somebody keeping track of everything that you do. I think as well, being realistic about how far you can stretch the people you've got, or the contractors or the suppliers. And we've got some fantastic supplier relationships. These are guys that I can ring on a Friday afternoon and go, oh, we've done this, and they can turn up. But there comes a point they just simply can't, because they're not all going to grow with us at the same rate. We've still got some fairly sort of one or two employee businesses that support us that won't be able to do that forever. I think we've probably, even this short time, we've learned that, your growth shouldn't be a vanity thing, right? You shouldn't be trying to get to 30 because you're determined, because somewhere in there you'll make a couple of mistakes. I think you've got to be sure that the ones you want to do are right, and be patient. And I think that's hard, right? When you want to get, it is exciting, to get to, when we get to 20, we're going to be excited. That's going to be this year. Number 19 will open in July. We'll have number 20 open this year. That's going to be exciting, but it's just take you one at a time, I think. And the other thing I think we found really hard is, you start seeing you need structure, right? So at some point we might need someone to be the head of procurement, or we might need someone to be the head of maintenance and facilities, but we don't yet. But the risk is, by the time you realize you needed them, you really need them, and you're on your knees because you're doing that job equally, like we've found as well, if you put them in too early, they're bored and you're paying them to not have that much to do. And I think that's really hard to try and work out what to grow the structure with it, but not lose all the profit to headcount and extra people.
Nice. I love that balancing game, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast. But the most important thing, I know you said that, us Americans may have some bad notions about the teeth. Really, it's more so about the food. So I want to ask you, like, what types of foods do you like to eat when you're away from work? What type of foods do you like to dive into?
Oh, I used to be quite a big guy actually. So I used to live off what felt like takeaways. There just isn't. There's such a big question of what's a like.
Oh.
Yeah, look, you can't eat a nice steak, a nice bit of that. I'm pretty fond of a lasagna, but I don't think that's British, But
It can be anything. Finish whatever you like. I just wanted to know,
I'll eat anything, right? I'm quite happy with whatever's going, but look, nice steak and chips. Yeah, you can't beat that.
Nice steak. Yes, I'm a big steak man. Everybody knows it's my favorite. It's my favorite meal. Nice. I can do it every day over the grill. Yeah. But thank you again, Andy. I love the twist, bringing you in and having a chance to chat with everyone. I know you are based in the UK, but I've had UK guests and I do have a little bit of a UK audience. So if there happens to be somebody who wants to reach out to you, maybe it's not about this. Maybe they just want to pick your brain about being an operations manager and getting some help with that. How can someone reach out to you?
Yeah, sure. Look, feel free to hit me up an email, andy@toothclub.co.uk. I'm more than happy to get an email. If there's anything people want to give an idea or give feedback or they've got some sort of question, then come my way. Yeah, I can handle a few more emails. It's fine. It's all good.
Awesome. Well, I'll put your information in the bio, man. Yeah. Thank you again for jumping on the podcast with me.
Yeah, thanks very much. Cheers for having me. It's been great. Thanks.
Awesome. And thank you guys for watching another episode of the Fix My Fees podcast. And if you too are an interesting business owner and you want to be on the show, send me an email at tavious@fixmyfeesteam.com. Other than that, good night, everybody.